Alright, One Piece chapter 1165, more scans that came out for the spoilers of the chapter, right? The title is Echo. Alright, the chapter starts where the last one ends. Garp asks Roger if he can also hear Rox's voice. Then Roger and Garp attacks Demon Rox. So this is the voice of all things, which is a really funny callback because really, you don't see this as much in the series anymore. They touched a little bit on it with Odin, right? Especially with Odin and Roger, right? And then linking it back to then, Luffy, our main character. But it's really interesting and fascinating that that was the way he communicated through, right? Especially in that possessed form. We see multiple pages of the battle. Roger and Garp's attacks didn't wound Rox. This confrontation ended with a colossal clash that created a massive wave of Supreme King Haki. Roger and Garp crashed into the mountains. The clash split the sky over God Valley. Okay, so, I'm not sure if they're going to end up calling a Buster Call on this island because this island's basically cooked anyway. Whitebeard destroyed one side of the mountain. Garp and Roger and Rox defeated the other. This is going to be insane. But the fight, man, this fight scene is going to be crazy. I cannot wait for the panels. Roger and Garp got up after the clash. Despite being wounded, they took off their jackets, ready to continue fighting. Two little Den Mushis started ringing and they talked with their comrades. Garp/Roger. We will return. Garp. Rox. Roger. I was planning on pulling both of you in cuffs on this island, but now... Roger. And my original plan was to take Shaki and the treasure and get the hell out of here. Seems like we both have to team up, huh? Garp. Not my intentions coming here at all, but I suppose leaving this fella to his own will is out of the options. Then Roger and Garp attacks Rox again. At the same time, we see that Rayleigh reaches the ship and brought Shaki to safety. Roger pirates arrive too with all the treasure that they can get. So, alright, so this is now officially a team up, okay? They have interacted, they have kind of joint agreed, we got to take this guy on. And, a lot of this going to back to the battle and them being wounded, right? We really don't know for sure how much strength Imu can give in the Domi Reversi, just that ability. We do see with the fodder giants back on Elbaf, but I wonder what level of magnitude this is, right? I'm sure that Rox could probably take Garp or Roger individually, but maybe not at the same time, right? Base form Rox. So this is going to be interesting. If they flesh out the Domi Reversa, I'm thinking if they cut right back to Elbaf and, Luffy shows up and then just one-shots the giants and they're like, oh, wow, it made us with high regen, made us bigger and it made us scarier and a little bit more bloodlusted, but didn't really do all that much to your base stats. Well, we can safely say then, Rox could have 2v1 Garped, right, without that form. But right now, we don't know. But right now, what is official is the fact that they now have teamed up. So Sengoku, he's telling the truth here. Then Roger and... We see Kaio telling his men to take the ship and leave the island. Shiki said that this is the end of the Rox pirates. Kind of interesting because Shiki probably, these are pretty high tier pirates, so I wonder if the voice of all things can carry over to anybody else, Maybe Whitebeard hears it, maybe Kaido, maybe Big Mom, maybe Shiki, we don't really know. But Shiki's calling this. I kind of said this in the last video that Shiki now has the authority, as a high-end, almost like the Sanji of Rox's crew, to disband the group, right? I'm sure that if any of them are paying attention to seeing what happened to the main cast of the crew right here, the solid foundation of the crew, they're like, all right, yeah, we're just gonna go on our way, or the amount of treasure might be enough for them to just move on, it could be either one. Lin and Kaido were talking in another part of God Valley. They were fine despite the Rox attack. Okay, so they don't take any damage, which is pretty solid, we would expect, because both of them are just insanely tanky in base form. Lin, listen now, Kaido. This is the dead of a lifetime. and I will make you pay me back one day. Kaido, idiot. I beat you in the competition for the fruit, and that's the simple truth, Lin Lin. Just you see, I will establish a crew where violence is everything. Lin Lin, get ahead of yourself. Oh, getting ahead of yourself, aren't we? You will never surpass me. Hiruzen, Lin Lin, what are you doing? We are leaving. Take the treasure. I will come back to collect that debt one day, and I will throw you back where you came from. Okay, so this Kaido Lin Lin, the Big Mom interaction, this pays off obviously in Wano country where we get, but this whole relationship is actually really interesting because in the world of a pirate, you're kind of backstabbing each other just from the get-go. Like, that's the nature of pirates, right? Is to best you at your own game, right? And that's kind of what Kaido did. I mean, Big Mom, and I said this again in the last video, is she basically was going around just stealing whatever she wanted from people. Like, she was stronger, or she got the hit on you, that fruit or treasure was hers, right? And that's just the way she rolls. Kaido did the same thing, so you can't really be all that mad at, Kaido. And Big Mom really is kind of still putting off this big sister energy, right? The whole relationship is like this, mind you, right? They are competing, but they have this sense of familiarity. Like, this relationship is pretty unique. But Kaido, I'm assuming, just takes off and starts the Beast Pirates, and his whole, just the theme of his is just violence and strength above all else, right? And this is basically the high from his fruit, his dragon form, skyrocketing that idea that he kind of had this entire time. You saw with King Harold, him just wanting to put him in submission, right, in order for him to listen and team up with Rocks. Rocks said, no, that's not how you do it. Well, chains are off, leashes off, rules are off. Kaido is now doing whatever he wants, and that is strength above all else. Strength above all else. In another part of God Valley, Newgate meets with a pirate who looks like Marco. He's Polo Graham, captain of the Polo Pirates. Newgate, you're the one who crashed that mountain, aren't you? Looks like the crew is falling apart. My name is Graham, and I'm a big fan of yours. You got no ship to return to, right? Work with me. Sounds like a pain. Get lost. So Marco Polo, this is like a really funny joke that Oda has to put in, right? But this is essentially kind of the start, too, of, like, the new era of Whitebeard, right? In a way, like, I'm wondering how Polo to Marco, like, how that his fruit gets established, like, is Whitebeard, like, just keeping these guys on as, like, slaves? Like, who knows where this is at right now, right? But Whitebeard kind of just picks up right here and then takes off, right? So this is kind of interesting. It's just that Marco Polo joke's really, really silly to me. Stussy, Gonzu, and Gil Bastar were also running away from this with several treasures. Gil Bastar was accompanied by a ghost that looked similar to the one Perona creates in the present. Stussy was very angry, asking where is Newgate. All right, so this might be, the previous user of Perona's ghost fruit, which broken ability just by itself. If you have no Haki, dude, you're cooked with that ability. Like, no one will have the willpower to fight you, and I find that really hilarious. Like, even though it's like a gag fruit almost, but it's really powerful. If you were a Stone Cold Killer, you throw that out, you have the advantage every time. In one of the Marine battleships, Dragon was threatening a higher-ranking Marine with a rifle to take some of the surviving citizens on the ship with them. On the other hand, Rayleigh and Gaban decided to return to the island to look for Roger. They asked the Roger pirates to leave the island and wait for them. That's actually super awesome. Like, Dragon is like the all-star of God Valley. Him and Kuma, man, Dragon has kind of came full circle. Like, his whole character arc of being exposed to the crazy, just disgusting powers and the corruption of the world, standing up, making a move, failing, and then still getting up and finding the strength to try to do it again, right? Like, this is straight up to the dome. He's like, I'm not taking no for an answer. He's commanding this out. It really shows you where Dragon's coming from and clearly where he's heading. And what's interesting is he doesn't have his fruit yet. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people, including myself, thought Dragon's going to find a fruit, eat it. We might see something from him, but so far, doesn't seem like the case. Emu is in Saturn's body, normal Saturn's body that has now just have Emu's eyes. Left on the island on the world government ship, Emu orders to erase God Valley from existence. Their narrator explains how the Marines from the G11 base to Cypher Pool 6 erase all the information about God Valley and the hunting tournament. Man, this is it, right? I really hope this is kind of like the way the narrator, whenever, in my opinion, the narrator comes in, you know whatever is happening is over with. Like, they're going to move on. They may, in a few episodes, or, I mean, a few chapters, in 5 or 10, come back, right? Just to kind of see where some things lead. But I really hope that they talk about where Rox is. But before that, let's just go ahead and finish this last paragraph out. Garp and Roger versus Rox continue. The other huge mountain of God Valley was destroyed during the battle. Garp and Roger couldn't damage Rox because even though that they coded their attacks with Supreme King Haki, Rox used his Supreme Haki to take them out. Against this background, Roger suggests to pour all of their Supreme King Haki together into one attack to overcome Rox's guards. But that plan had a problem. After that attack, Roger and Garp will have no strength left, so it's a big gamble. But Garp agrees with Roger's plan. Then, in the absolute epic final double page of the chapter, Roger and Garp use a combined attack to defeat Rox. Roger. Hi no ka gotsuchi no ace. Garp. Infinitium explosion, right? And the kanji for Roger's attack means wise man, a flame god. Whenever I see anything like this, I can't help but think about all the foreshadowing that comes with Roger and Ace being, his son. It's just, anyway. Roger attacks with multiple thrusts to cut Rox's body, and Garp threw Rox several punches at the same time. This attack is similar to Luffy's Gum Gum no Gatling. The chapter ends with the Rox defeated as the narrator talks about the legacy of the Rox pirates. The narrator. The world government sought to conceal the incident in its entirety. However, the group under Rox D. Sivek was an organization of chaos that sharpened an era. The collapse of the Rox pirates shook the world with its defined echoes. Break next week. Okay, wow, this is like a lot in this chapter, I'm not gonna lie. But it's kind of condensed into 3 different parts. You have, the rest of the Rox pirates, the Roger pirates, and obviously the massive fight now between Garp, Roger, and Rox. This kind of seems like we're about to dip away from the flashback, if I'm going to be honest with you. Once we read it, we'll know, but once the narrator comes in, things are wrapping up. You may not even see what happens from Rox, which is honestly probably for the best, because the ambiguous kind of loose end means that he could still be alive. He could be sealed inside of Blackbeard. There's a lot of theories that are going on. Especially something with Davy Jones. If he somehow was still alive or, wandering the sea floor, if that comes into play at some point, somehow, some way. But the end of Rox is just really he's probably one of the better characters we're going to see and have seen in a long time. But, I say this all the time, the animation when this comes out is going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy, right? Either way, this is going to just be wild. When the panels come out, we'll really see what's going on here, but this kind of seems like the end of the era. We probably are just going to go back to Harold and really what happens with Loki, which, this is the whole point, was to talk about what happened to Harold, why Loki is, outcasted, and it was only going to happen in 3 minutes. Keep in mind, this was whole thing was supposed to happen in 3 minutes, and here we are, about 4 months in, right? In terms of our time, manga time and that time is clearly different. This could have all happened in 15 seconds, right? But anyway, I'll let you guys know when the panels come out.